You guys will probably see this video right after the one I did right before it, hence the same shirt. But I figured had a little bit of inspiration, so I figured I'd try and bang out a couple thoughts. And these thoughts are with regards to uncomfortable questions and inconvenient tasks. Uncomfortable questions. I always recommend, and I've seen much fruit. I've seen it bear much fruit in the past. I always recommend that people surround themselves with people that don't mind asking them uncomfortable questions, both in their personal and in their business or whatever related lives. In my personal life, for example, and I think there's a few people that probably think this is weird, and there's a few people that even know. There's not a lot of people that know about this, but I've had a therapist, a psychologist, a registered psychologist that I've seen for like 2 years now. I saw her once a week for a while, and now I've started to see her like not twice a week, not that crazy, every second week. And she asks a lot of the right and often very uncomfortable questions with regards to my personal life. And what started as kind of, I was in a really bad place, and she sort of helped me cope with that and kind of learn a little bit about myself, ask some questions of myself that I hadn't asked before, because quite frankly, at the time, I just didn't. I internalized a lot, and I just kind of buried it, and I just didn't address it, and I didn't really know myself all that well. But through her questions and all those very uncomfortable questions, I ended up learning a lot about myself, which has been tremendously helpful in these last couple of years. And now it's kind of just turned into an optimization thing. Is just getting just learning more about myself and kind of doubling down on what I learn I'm really good at, and maybe not doing so much of what I'm not so good at. And in my business life, and I've been really bad about this, I mean, even to date, but I have started to surround myself with a couple people, namely one, who's asking me questions that I know I can answer, but I just don't ask myself them, and they're really important questions, about financial health, and about are you checking in with your team members regularly to see how they're doing? Are you using any software for that? Actually, I've got these questions right in front of me. He's been asking them today. How much is set aside for marketing of each business? Questions about project management software. Have you surveyed your people? Things like that, right? They're not really things I tend to think about, and I can sometimes be a little bit arrogant about it too. I think, I have the answers already. I don't need, other people's answers. Certainly on a subconscious level, I think I can be that way. So having him ask me and sort of forcing myself to answer them often reveals very interesting insights. I often find out that I didn't know what I was talking about, and he offers, at the very least, he offers up his own opinion, and I can take it or I can leave it, and sometimes it's valuable, and sometimes maybe it's just not valuable now. But just having somebody, maybe you call it a devil's advocate. I don't think that's really it. That there's a whole other conversation, perhaps, is to keep a devil's advocate around. Somebody who doesn't mind challenging you on things. I think that's really important in business and in life as well, but I'm not talking about that right now. So just having somebody, both in business, both in your personal life, that is that's willing to ask you those kinds of questions is really valuable. And if you don't have someone like that, find somebody. You'll see it really changes things a lot, and you don't have to pay that person necessarily like I do, but I'm sure there's probably somebody in your life that doesn't mind doing that. And the second part of this, and now I regret even mentioning it because we're already at 5 minutes. I like to keep these short. So maybe I'll just quickly touch on it. The inconvenient tasks. I think there are a lot of items that remain on our to-do list, on our task list, that don't get done. They carry over from day to day and day, to day to day to day, to week to month to, and maybe it has something to do with your taxes, or maybe it's something to do with, some other finance related thing, or some HR related thing, or those are ones that are really typical for me that I like to put off, and that have kicked me in the ass 1 or 2 times before. But now, I kind of look at these things. If it's been on my to-do list for a while, and I've been putting it off, I think at this point I kind of know myself enough that, that's an important task. That's something that needs to be taken care of. And it's okay to put it off a couple days, but generally speaking, as a rule, or at least a rule I've found, is that those inconvenient tasks tend to be the most important ones of all. They're the most impactful ones. They're the ones that are going to make the biggest difference in your business or in your personal life or whatever. And the longer you put those off, the less fruits that they generally will bear. And sometimes it can get really bad where maybe a bill collector or something's after you or something like that, just because it's the last thing you want to deal with. So just an example, never had that happen or anything. So just some little thoughts to leave you with, and I hope there's a few of you that share the same experiences, and I hope there's a few of you that will share them with me. Have a wonderful day, guys, and thank you for listening to me blab for a whole 7 minutes. Bye.